Okay, this is an intro to making sense of Berlioz's fifth movement of his Symphony Fantastique. So we're not going to actually do any listening and listening guide stuff here, but I'm going to give you kind of an overview of what this is about. So in the Romantic era, there's lots and lots and lots of program music. Program music is music that has extra musical meanings. And so it talks about concert overtures, which is writing an overture or a big pre-movement to like an opera or something like that, but not actually writing the opera. It's like saying, if I were going to write a soundtrack or an opera for something, this is the first piece that would contain all the major themes without actually doing the rest, and give some of those incidental music for ballets and things like that. Obviously, the music is for a story in a ballet or something else like that, a drama of some kind, and so it picks up extra musical ideas. Now, big forms that come out of the Romantic period. One's called the tone poem and one's called a program symphony. Let me see if I can define this for you really quickly. Program symphony is a multi-movement work for orchestra that has discrete movements, and they are programmatic, meaning that each movement will be about something, right? We can blame Beethoven for this, for popularizing this. Yes, symphonies like the Pastoral Symphony, which is supposed to be about spring and the English countryside and things like that. Not English, actually, but Viennese. But there's that. And then the tone poem, which is also a really, 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 really big piece of music for orchestra. But the difference, and it's about something, right? But the difference between these two is this one has discrete movements and this one just has sections, and it's sort of continuous for the entirety. Neither one is longer than the other. They're both really, really long, often 30, 40, 50 minutes long in total, even longer maybe. But this one is broken into movements, so we call it a symphony, although it doesn't bear any resemblance to the sonata cycle and its movement forms. And this one's just called a tone poem because it meanders and goes through and changes from section to section, kind of like movements, but there's no break between them. Okay, it's like a meditation on that. All right. Maybe the most significant program symphony of all is by Hector Berlioz, who's a Romantic composer, and he writes Symphonie Fantastique. Now, just as a side note, Berlioz is a prototypical Romantic composer. He's passionate, believes that his music and he personally is important, and everything that is in him and his soul comes out through his music. And so it's not autobiographical, but it's fed by his life. We need to understand that Symphonie Fantastique is a piece of music that he wrote because he was fixated on a Shakespearean lead actress named Harriet Smithson. And he thought she was great. It's kind of like somebody who idolizes a movie star, okay? Paparazzi level. So he went to all her performances, even rehearsals and things if he could, and followed her. He didn't think that he was of high enough station for her. He really idolized her and put her up on a pedestal, but he was obsessed with her. And he wrote this this program symphony to, in a fantasy sort of setting, work out his feelings and such about them. And so with that in mind, we can look at the program or what these different things mean. So here's the program right here. It says, a young musician of morbid sensibility and ardent imagination, that's him, okay? Or the fictional him in this story. In a fit of lovesick despair, poisons himself with opium. In other words, he can't deal with the agony and the ecstasy of her and her presence and not having her. And so he overdoses on opium, okay? But he doesn't do it enough, and instead of killing him, it plunges him into a heavy sleep accompanied by strange visions. The sensations, feelings, and memories are translated to a sick brain into musical images and ideas. Okay, the beloved one, that would be Harriet Smithson's fictional equivalent here, becomes for him a melody and a recurrent theme. So basically, each one of these movements in the symphony are about him sort of having a hallucinogenic or drug-induced dream or fantasy about her. And and how that works in this is that he composes this idea of a theme that represents her. Okay. In other words, when you hear the theme, you go, uh-huh, that's Harriet Smithson's character, the beloved one. Okay. It's called fixed idea or idée fixe, if you're coming from the French version of that, and he was French, right? And what happens is in development of a theme is where it changes and transforms inside a single movement. But theme transformation here is when the theme takes on new guises and new incarnations from movement to movement. So it's not developing itself and working itself out in the moment in a piece. It's like seeing it evolve over time. And so the theme will be adapted to instrumentation, meter, and other musical ideas that are relevant to a given movement. Okay, so let's see. Well, they talk about why is this important. Now, there's a cartoon here, a vignette, which shows that Berlioz has got, hundreds of tubas and brass and many strings and even cannons and things. And somebody is making fun of him, satirizing him because he was known for like huge orchestras with giant amounts of instrumentation and incredible extremes of contrast and emotion and things. So he didn't actually have a canon, but they're saying, he would, they're saying his music is like having that. And so, and yet he's like very, very stoic and happy there, whereas everybody in the audience is in calamity. Okay, so they're making fun of him. He fought vehemently with other people about music and about what was good music and whether his music was good or not. Personal attacks and everything. Anyhow, let's quickly go through here. Movement 1. This is where he takes the drugs and gets stoned. Okay, I don't mean to make light of it, but this is where it is. He like remembers his love, and this is where the bum bum ba-dum 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 the theme comes in. That's her. It's introduced. Okay, so movement 1 is this sort of introductory, slow, atmospheric piece, and then every movement that will come after this is him. You can see there's a program written in, just like Spring, right? The by Vivaldi has so amid the tumult and excitement of a brilliant ball, this is his first vision or hallucination. He glimpses the loved one again. So what does he do to make that evident? Well, first off, since this is program music and sort of not depicting it moment by moment, but an idea of it, right? The movement is a waltz to simulate the idea of going to a ball. And it's, plays through, and then the idée fixe or Harriet Smithson's theme is adapted into the 3 timing, the triple meter of a waltz and things like that. Then, he can't stand that, so he runs away and he runs out, and the next hallucination is him in the field. It's like he's gone out to the countryside or away from that to get peace. And this is actually a romantic idea that away from the city, away from the hubbub and the crowds and things, pastoral sort of living is better. And so he uses double reed instruments like the oboe and the English horn to give it a sort of panpipes or shepherd's pipes sound to it. And unfortunately, even out there in the middle, she shows up again, and he's disturbed and unhappy because of that. All right. Somewhere between 3 and 4, he has gone mad and killed her. Doesn't say how, strangulation, knife, we're not sure, but he dreams that he's killed her and he's been executed and condemned to die. And so this is a march because he's being marched up to the scaffold. This is a very exciting piece of music. If you're all interested in this, it's worth checking out all of these, but this is the very cool one apart from number 5. And even just as the axe is about to fall, he's about to had his head chopped off at the scaffold for being a murderer. A vision of her appears, and so even in death, he's like the last thing he sees is her and is tortured by her. Now wait, there's more. A typical classical symphony would stop after movement 4, but this is the Romantic era, and we have to have more. Nothing is more successful than excess, and so plus they love the idea of like supernatural as well. These are all romantic attributes that hopefully you've read in the early chapters about. So we get a bonus level, or you think death is the end, but no, there's a bonus movement, Dream of a Witch's Sabbath, which is what we're going to be looking at, okay? This is where he's dead. He wakes up and he sees himself in purgatory, or that place may be waiting around before he gets to go to heaven and hell. And witches and ghouls and demons and things all start to go up around him, and they start to surround him, and it's all, well, you'll hear the music, you can hear how it's all done there. And then what happens is, they're going like, oh, look, we have a murderer. This is going to be great. I get the light meat, you get the dark meat. They're going to divide him up and stuff. And so they have a witch's dance around him. And guess who the queen, witch or star guest of that is? It's Harriet Smithson. So her theme will show up and be done in sort of a grotesque, kind of really cool dance-like version of that. And there's other things in here that also denote death and things like that. So I don't know if you remember way back at the beginning of the term, we listened to the Dies Irae Gregorian chant, the death mass chant. That's quoted in here. It's not just quoted, it's like featured here. Everybody knew what that was. It was the famous death chant. And so, it's like saying you have died and your judgment is here and you've been found wanting. And so the witches dance around him. There's like church bells simulated in here, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, they dance around him, and for that dance part, they do a fugato. And look, you know what a fugato is because we've done that in Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. It will be this sort of imitative fugue-like entrances and things like that. Anyhow, they all dance around him. They got an interesting picture of that going on right there. And at the end, they grab his soul and take him to hell, and that's the end of it. And it's a tragic ending. It's not happy at all. Nice. Okay, it's fabulous music. You're going to have a great time with this. What can I say in ending this video? He wins the coveted composition prize, maybe the biggest one in the world at the time for writing this, called the Prix de Rome, or the Rome Prize for Composition. And at that point, he becomes an instant celebrity, or like a famous person. Composers were like movie directors now. You get a movie director that everybody loves and they do great work and they become a celebrity in their own right, maybe as much as the actors that portray things for them. He wins the Prix de Rome and he becomes the preeminent composer at the time and a celebrity. And at that point, he feels that he is on equal enough footing as Harriet Smithson, and he courts her and they get married very quickly. And they find out that neither of them are really fit for each other. He is just a disaster. He's moody. He has these things where he's been writing in his journal that he knows that Harriet Smithson and he can't be together. This is before winning the prize, but they will definitely be together in the afterlife and stuff. He's just, but he dusts himself off and he behaves well for a series of weeks and dates and things like that, and then proposes. And she says yes. Now, all reports are that she's no picnic either. She's a disaster in her own right, but he's in love with her stage presence, and she's, wooed by him being good and behaving well for a few weeks and stuff like that. And they get married, and then they find out quickly that they're not compatible and they're not with anybody probably. And so they become estranged very quickly. Anyhow, there's the point of it. Picture him right there. Okay. I'm going to end this right here. We are going to do a series of 5 videos next, one for each section of this, where we listen to what's going on and we try and make ourselves a listening guide. Remember, your biggest job for this listening test is to attack this 10-minute movement with all its strange sounds and interesting things going on, and learn the different sections well enough that if you hear 15-20 seconds of it, you say, aha, I hear this, I recognize that. We're clearly in this section. So we will do we'll do a medium-sized video on each one of these different sections and say, what do we hear? And we'll try and be technically oriented, as well as just whatever else we hear that can be helpful, right? So there's 3 sections there, and there's 2 more sections at the back right there. And yeah, these videos will probably be just inside our course client because of copyright issues and things like that. This intro is probably on YouTube just to get us started, but look inside Canvas for that. All right, see you at the next video.